does.
Is that good or bad?
Coming to you live on the Government Access Channel from Mario Bagnoni Chambers in beautiful downtown Erie. It's the Taxpayers Hotline Show with your hosts, Kaz Kwiatkowski and John Steiner.
Yeah, here we go. Get the wide lens going.
Wide lens?
There we are, Kaz. Three of us.
There we are.
I remember Kaz last week said, hey, the census lady's coming this week.
Yes.
So we'd like to welcome the census lady, but I'm sure you have a real name.
We do have a real name. It's Michelle Jagai.
How you doing, Michelle?
I'm well, thank you.
Good.
And it is that time, John.
It's officially census time.
Yes, every, 10 years?
Every 10 years. So the decennial census happens on years that end in 0. So we are gearing up for the 2020 census, which will begin officially next March, with Census Day being April 1st.
What goes on in actually, what kind of preliminary work do you actually do, trying to hold the calls to actually get the census, setting up a team, or how do you guys go about collecting these numbers?
So the big thing we're doing right now is getting education out to everybody living in Erie about the importance of completing the census, and so that they know what to expect. So next March, they'll get a flyer in the mail asking them to respond, and for the first time in 2020, so this will be really interesting. They'll have the option of an internet or using touch-tone phone to respond.
That's the first time, huh?
That is the first time. So that is in addition to the paper copy survey that most of us are used to from previous census. Or if people don't respond one of those two ways, they will have somebody come to their door eventually.
They used to do it way back.
Right, that would be your first.
Oh, the old school days, Kaz?
Yeah, but you know what's funny? I looked, the census gets released every so many years.
Right.
You can actually go back and look at the roster, and it's funny how many people they missed. And they used to handwrite them though, but I mean, they go into like houses and, you were dealing with people that probably, at that time, we had a lot of immigrants even back then that probably, didn't understand the question, so
Please hold all calls.
we would miss maybe a couple of people here and there, but for the most part, it's been a progress.
Right. And despite that, we do know that there are certain areas within Erie County and within the city limits that are undercounted. So we're looking specifically to educate those people and compel them to respond. And one of the things that's really important for people to know is that each person counted represents about $2,100 a year every year for 10 years. And that's money that comes back into federally funded programs in our community, like Medicare, Medicaid, the Children's Health Insurance Program, CHIP, supplemental nutrition programs, so that's SNAP and WIC, the free and reduced lunch programs, housing benefits, utility benefits, a lot of things that our community members rely on.
You know what I found out over the years? There was one census, it's been about 20 years ago, and I was one of the people they contacted later. John, there's a thing there, a hold button. We're going to ask you just for a few minutes.
Yeah, hold all the calls, please.
Yeah.
Hey, we're going to ask everybody to call back and hold the calls because we have a guest today. We're going to ask her some questions and you can call back in, all right?
Why?
Because those are the rules of the day. Call back, please.
Yeah. Who's the guest?
Here, let me show you. So I was one of them that they picked, and for follow-up for the next 10 years.
Oh,
And it was interesting because, they ask you if you like to be a participant, and one of the nice benefits is you get data in the mail.
oh.
You get
so shared.
you get sheets about it. It has a city broke down by blocks and segments. You can look at, and I liked it because I was interested in how much people made in each district of the city.
Right.
The average age. So what people don't understand about the census, it's not just counting heads per se,
Right.
but they actually compile data, voluntarily. That's why they ask you, so that if there's, how do you determine whether the city needs help in certain areas? You know, you have to cooperate, and some people think it's, you know, it's interfering, but you're only hurting yourself, because if they know that the city in general
Right.
is, you know, is kind of poverty stricken, then certain funds can be funneled that way.
Absolutely. And the other part of that too is it also relates to our representation in Congress. So
Right.
that has the most direct relationship to the census data. And without our accurate count, we can't have our fair representation in Congress. And that also affects our electoral college votes.
Even locally, because the state congressmen are portioned.
Right.
They look at, you know, where did they, like years ago when the city had 130-some thousand people, we had 2 people specifically assigned to the city. Now those districts have bled out over into some of the suburban areas because the population is.
Where are you guys, where's your home base, and how many people do you guys actually have working on getting the accurate count?
Well, they'll determine how many people to hire to go out to follow up with people who haven't responded a little bit later on. So they're working on hiring those people right now.
Okay.
Their Census Bureau is taking online applications. You can go online and apply. The jobs are $16 an hour. It's flexible hours and up to 20 hours a week. So they're really good jobs.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair wage for that kind of work, yeah.
And they've been pushing that too, here at the city and stuff, that.
Right, right. So really, and they want to hire people who are in their own neighborhoods so that they can go and be familiar with the places that they're working in.
And they look like the people they're representing.
Exactly.
And that's a good way of putting it, because one of the problems we have is, you know, a lot of these people come from countries where they're a little bit,
Right.
even when I, you know,
I mean, it's hard, there's pockets in our city that don't exactly speak English very well,
right, you need somebody in their own,
which would absolutely help in identifying the people that we need to target in order.
and the nice thing is you're putting people to work from those areas.
That was my next question. If somebody wanted to apply for these positions, how would they go about doing that, and who oversees that, and when are they gonna be taking applications for that?
So they're taking applications ongoing. You can go to 2020census.gov/jobs. That'll take you right to the online application. And then it's a federal job. There's a process that you go through. They'll do an extensive background check
Okay.
for anybody that's hired, and you'll get training and an iPhone, and that's how they'll go out and collect the data.
Through the cell phones.
Through the cell phones. They'll do, so in the past they've gone out, I think, with tablets, things like that. They're just streamlining their process. The other really nice thing is, you know, we mentioned the different languages. With the introduction of the online option and the phone option, there'll be multiple languages available for people to complete this.
Well, we have to convince, and we were talking about this with the other gentleman that's involved.
Probably Sean.
Yeah, I met him at the COG, which is the Council of Governments, like,
Yes.
and we were talking about the importance of all this. And he said, we have to make sure they understand that we're not there to cause grief, that we, you know, we want their cooperation, and
Right, so we want people to know that their data, their personal information is completely protected. As you said, every once in a while they do release the information. That's every 72 years. That's when the personal data is rematched with that. And that's for the purpose of genealogy research and things like that. And by that time,
right,
you know,
nobody's
going to be bothered by their information being released. So they're very careful with that. The Census Bureau is constantly trying to hack their own systems to ensure that the data is very protected. The confidentiality is protected by federal law and cannot be shared outside the Census Bureau with any other agency.
I've always felt we were undercounted in the city.
Do they add, is there a plus or minus margin as far as the census goes?
So we know for our city, the city of Erie here, that 2/3 of our census tracts were undercounted they were all undercounted, but they were undercounted by more than 20%. So the response rate was under 80%. Some of them were as low as 58%, 56%. So we're looking at certain pockets of areas where we've missed half the people living there. And the census tract is about 4,000 people, give or take. Those are averages and predictions.
Have you guys, been in touch, a lot of these neighborhoods, they have, neighborhood watch groups and a lot of groups that are active. Have you guys been in touch with these folks at all?
Yes, so we've been doing, specifically, I've been going out to outreach with the different neighborhood groups, as well as, so we have in our city of Erie, the Complete Count Committee, which has different representation from different agencies all across.
What was that called again?
The Complete Count Committee.
Okay.
So they're, the members of the Complete Count Committee represent all different agencies that outreach to different pockets of people throughout our city.
Okay.
And we're working on methods of outreach specific to those people. So any chance I get to talk to those people or give them information about the census via flyers, that's what we're working on.
Well, that's what I was gonna say, cause they have, not only do they do a lot of volunteer, but they have access to other volunteers
Right.
throughout whether it's Gannon students or anywhere,
Yes.
different things like that, to help you guys get the word out and get a more, accurate count. What was Erie's last count? I don't even know.
Well, they do a rough count every year. And I think they said now we're like 99,000.
Erie County?
No, not Erie
City?
County.
I was gonna say.
Erie County used to be traditionally, John, about 280,000.
Yeah, right.
But it's actually,
We keep
if you
dropping.
listen to the Census Bureau, what they do, they kind of track births and deaths, real estate transactions, and, they try to come up with a rough count. The county's been going down a little bit too. It's like 270 some thousand, I think.
Really?
But, the official count, that's what you see listed in books.
Right.
But if you watch every year in the paper, they'll put an update. And they'll draw that data, I'm guessing they draw that from births and deaths and,
Right, so they tried to make a prediction, and that's kind of where we know our undercount comes from too, birth,
Yeah.
death records, address changes.
and you'll have mayors challenge the numbers like they have in the past. And they'll either upgrade them a little bit or leave them. And a lot of communities, I think, actually get involved with the Census Bureau
Right,
as much as they can legally,
right,
They provide volunteers to go out there and help the workers or,
right, and that's a lot of what we're doing with the Complete Count Committee is
yeah, and that's a good idea.
really rallying everybody now while we still have some time prior to the start of the census to get the word out.
I can tell you, they've been out for, I've been hearing this for the last year or two, easy.
Yes.
Yeah, I had heard that you guys were starting to get the plan together and put a team together, and I know that they had brought somebody in to coordinate the effort.
Yes.
So I'm glad you took the time to come here.
What's huge, like, she said, not only on the congressional level, but, the distribution of, when we talk about CDBG funds,
That
you hear
was-
that every year.
That was my next comment,
Yeah, you hear that every year, right?
Every year we get dropped, but they can't wait to drop us.
Well, you're gonna get dropped anyway, but here's the thing.
Yeah, right.
He who has the more people is not gonna get dropped as much.
Exactly.
Right.
And plus, with the CDBG funding, with the number of, considering where we're at as far as the poverty rate goes and the amount of, new Americans that are moving into our city, we need that money.
And he also, when they questioned me, I remember they asked me, was I a victim of crime the last year? So they look at those data too. They'll say, Census Bureau does a lot of number crunching, not just for, head counts.
Right.
I think there's at least 20 different surveys they do, and I've gotten some calls from community members. There was somebody who had a small business and she was asked to do a business survey that was being put out by the Census Bureau. And now they have, in the past, people would say, 1 in 6 households, they get the long form, people kind of dreaded the long form. This decennial census and the last one, everybody gets the same 10 questions. And that long form does still go out. It still goes out to 1 in 6 households, but it's rolling. It goes out all the time.
Yeah.
So there is a possibility that somebody could get both almost simultaneously, but every household will get the 10 questions.
How long does it take to actually complete a census? I mean, how long does it take to try to, you started about a year, 6 months, 2 weeks, how long does it take?
For the Census Bureau to plan?
No,
their
not the plan.
process?
So when you start it, okay, we're gonna start counting now.
Okay.
How long before, you're like, all right, that's it, we're done counting? We've counted enough, I'm sick of counting.
Sick of counting. So the numbers, because of the time frame of the numbers being due to the presidential office, they stop the count July 31st.
Okay,
So right at the end of July, we need to have all our numbers in.
okay,
We really want everybody to respond initially to the initial request that goes out, because we know that it gets harder and harder to try to pin people down.
Right.
One of the things that in Erie that we need to be concerned about, for instance, are our college students. Our college students live here most of the time, the students who attend Gannon, Barron, Edinburgh, Mercyhurst, and they will be counted here.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I was gonna ask you that now. So now if I get one at home, right?
Right.
And when my kids were in college, and they would ask me, kids of high school, so they were counted where they were, is that it?
Where they were.
Really?
Right, and I don't know how great the Census Bureau was about, communicating that in the past.
Yeah,
But they're trying to be a little bit more thorough in ensuring that people are counted in the right place,
because
especially.
if I remember, I think my kids actually didn't get one in those days. So they were probably counted at home. And I don't even remember in those days whether they asked you where they lived.
Well, what's interesting is, still college students might not get the census survey. If they're living in dorms, they'll be counted as part of the group quarters count. So they might not even be as aware that this is happening.
But how do you get the count? You go right to the school then?
They'll go right, yeah, the Census Bureau will go right to the school and connect with them, and the data will be
Oh, so
shared.
somebody like Penn State's gonna make out pretty good then.
Right.
like State College.
Well, they claim that, see, on game days, State College is the third largest city in Pennsylvania, easily.
Believe it.
Passes everybody.
110,000 people in the stadium alone.
Well, yeah, not counting, but, see, I like that idea because basically, for 6-8 months, we have,
Well, couldn't you just go to Gannon's student enrollment number and say, well, they have 5,000 students, therefore we have add 5,000 to the, because majority, they'd all live in Erie, you'd think, or close by,
Right.
close enough in the region. Well, yeah, right, yeah.
So they'll do that for the dorms. Unfortunately, we need to make sure those students who live off campus respond themselves, because the count goes by household.
Okay,
So,
yeah, see, the ones that live on 38th Street, that's gonna
Yeah.
be a problem. If they don't,
oh, right.
but going to the school, that's not a problem, because,
right.
I see, I see.
yeah, and I'm glad that was a question that always bothered me is, who got credit for the students,
Right. There's a couple different populations that are a little bit transitory that way, and we need to make sure they know where they're going to be counted. Another question that's come up are snowbirds. We have a lot of people who
Yeah.
go down to Florida for a few months.
So you probably go by where their main residence is, right?
Right, where their main residence is and where they reside, the majority of the time is where they should respond. So even if they're in Florida until Easter next year, which is mid-April,
Yeah,
they might get a census survey at that residence, but they should respond here for Erie if this is where their primary residence is and where they are.
is this the first time they did the college kids like that?
I've been told a couple different things, so I can't answer that
I mean, that's huge
specifically,
for us.
but
Well,
they
it'd be
should be
interesting.
counted
We
here.
should have a better count this year then.
That's big for us, yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you take, we got, I'm not sure about Lecom, some, where they live actually,
Yeah,
but you got, Erie County, you got Edinburgh. But in the city, you got, city proper, you got Mercyhurst and Gannon,
yeah. And then you have,
and Barron's out in the county,
yeah,
but,
Barron, yeah, that's what I was gonna say, Barron.
but those are big for Erie County,
And I've been working with all the colleges to ensure that that information is getting to the students. Hopefully to the parents too, so that those people are not double
I
counted.
know the cities wanna keep what they got.
Right.
We would too, but.
They all fluff their numbers.
Well, but when you think about it, it's probably as many kids go out,
Not
depending
here.
on what, unless you're Philadelphia, where you get, a ton of kids coming in.
Yeah.
Like here, for every kid we count, we probably,
Didn't we allegedly lose 3,000 residents last year or something like that?
we lost.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was that high.
Population
But we've been
County.
losing.
Yeah, that's what makes me nervous. You know, I always see, you know, we've added a few, but we never talk about it till you get that final year number of how many actually exit the city and the county.
But the thing is too, people are having smaller and smaller families.
True. There's multiple reasons.
I remember when I looked at those censuses from the, turn in 1920s and 30s,
Yeah.
and you looked at the family size, it was like
10 plus kids.
8, 9, 10, 11,
Okay. Well, we might as well open up the phones, but before the show's over, we're gonna, we'll let you give out the,
more numbers.
information, the numbers and
Is there anything you want to say before you
Websites.
open up the lines?
No, just that it's important and it's fast and it's easy. You can respond your preference online, paper survey. So there's a lot of different
because a lot of
options.
people over the age of 50, they're not computer savvy.
Right, sure.
So,
I'll probably wind up doing my mother.
and there's a perfect example sitting right over there.
No, I'm savvy.
And you're not computer savvy.
Yes, I am.
You are not computer
Oh,
savvy.
you watch.
I had to show you how to use your cell phone.
I'll show you how to get 5 more people to count for me.
There you go.
Well, and
I'm just joking, I
the
won't say.
libraries will be open too for people to use the computer labs there, and we'll have
Okay.
some
You're gonna have.
guides there to help people go through the process.
Are you gonna have some different, like satellite places where people can come in to do it, or?
There's a couple different community spots that are going to be opening up their computer labs as well.
That was my very next question, because it's important to have, like, at the JFK and the MLK and, the Hortons groups out there at the, whatever that.
John F. Kennedy?
Yeah, or the Kennedy and, cause those are the agencies and the community programs that need the, federal money, the block grant money. So you better, if I
And
were
don't
those,
forget, we had St. Martin. We had a lot of places where,
oh yeah, there's a lot of, we got plenty of nonprofits for you guys to post up shop.
Almost anybody who has computers available has been willing to open up their computer labs
That's
to
good.
community members to come in. So
That's
we've had good response
That's
from the
good.
programs involved.
All right, yeah, 'cause I mean, they're the ones that directly benefit or don't benefit from it, which is even worse.
Right.
So, how do we open these up, Cash?
I just hit that button I had.
Okay, hit that button. All right, caller, sorry we had to, take a minute, but when somebody takes the time to come in, we want to give them a minute.
Well, yeah, when we have a guest that's,
I appreciate that.
No problem. It's hard enough to be, when you first come on here, you want to try just to get all your information out, and then when people start calling,
and if they don't call you, we can
we'll keep talking.
keep rattling you a little bit.
Okay.
But it's good to, we like to get some different perspectives from different things, from people working on different things in the community. Lets the people that actually, watch this show, because this show,
It replays and,
yeah, replays like 3 times a day, so it's on like 20 times a week. Go ahead, caller, thanks for waiting.
Yeah, I called or someone told me to wait and call back.
Yeah, go ahead.
What was that about?
well, we have a guest on here.
Yeah, we have a guest and we wanted to, ask her some questions, and,
Okay, who's the guest?
we have the fine lady, what was your first name?
Michelle Jagai.
We have Michelle Jagai from the Census Bureau today, so we brought her in to give us some information about the importance of the census and all that fun stuff. Did you have something you wanted to discuss?
Yes, I do. It's about the city. It's and it's also going to be about the census.
Sure.
Yes. Now, my question is this. Okay. Now, the census is all based upon grant money going to cities. Yes or no?
What?
The census is based upon demographics for grants going to cities.
Part of it.
Part of it, but that's not the real purpose of it.
What would you say to that?
Well, the initial reason they started the census, the reason it's in our Constitution, is to ensure fair representation, which ties back to the Congress.
Right.
Now, grants and federal programs do use census data to determine how they funnel out federal money, and it's
But the enabling legislation wasn't strictly that authorized you, was for.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. Now this is okay. Now this right here. Okay. Now you mentioned the Constitution. Okay. Do you practice law? Do you know anything about the Constitution?
We know the basics of it.
Well, that's moot. Because to truly understand the Constitution, you have to have a law degree. Now, the Constitution does not exist. Okay? I digress. Okay. My question is this. Would the city be willing to relocate homeless people into the frontier area of the city?
Would they? If they had property available, and the government has made that very clear that they are not to be warehoused in one section. And if you watch around town, they have put group homes in different parts of different cities and the suburbs.
Well, that's how they do, that's what they were doing with the housing, when the government housing, they were building them in all the neighborhoods.
The problem is the property values are sometimes tough for government to do that.
Yeah.
But they do try to, they have been lately.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
The city's overreaching their bounds and authority amongst the city population.
Well, the city hasn't kicked anybody out. So what are you talking about?
What are you referring to?
The city, has the city overreached their bounds with its citizens in the city?
What do you mean?
As far as what?
The city, they have violated people's rights.
What have they violated? Which right?
Which rights are you referring to? We need some examples.
Hey, give me a specific.
Okay, well, the city police, they violate people's rights based upon a county judge's signature. Okay, no outcry. The city police, they play cowboy. No accountability. They violate people's constitutional rights. No one cares about that. And they hide behind a judge's signature to do it. That's facts.
Well, you could argument that either way.
Okay, the city of Erie, they let the police run amok. Okay, they need to rein in on the police. They violate people's constitutional rights. And they hide behind the county judge's signature.
Well, all right. Well, we appreciate that call, and we're going to end it on that note because we got to get some more callers in. But thanks for calling.
That's facts. Don't suppress the facts.
Okay, thanks. It's always that first call is interesting every week.
First of all, you don't have to be a lawyer to understand the Constitution.
No. Honestly, lawyers don't even understand.
In fact, you don't even have to be. I think technically, you don't even have to have a jurisprudence to be on the Supreme Court.
Right.
How about that one? Ooh, but I mean, you probably don't have too good of a chance.
No. Go ahead, caller.
Hey, I got a question about a street
Yeah.
here in Erie. You know there's a short street between Dexter and Pine Avenue, between the U-Haul place, used to be Kmart, and Dairy Queen. We're
That's
talking
your
about.
area, okay.
That's my area. Yeah. What's it?
Well, is this a private strip of a street there, or is this part of the city streets?
Where?
It's at 42nd, 43rd and Dexter.
Yeah.
It's right alongside the east side the plaza there, and
Oh, that street.
Third, yeah.
You mean the one that runs along like Mirsky Dental there?
Yeah.
yeah, that's the one.
That's a city. Well, let me think now.
Has to be a
That
city
well, I'm gonna have to check on that because
Uh-oh.
no, because the street runs. The street goes into the plaza property.
Right.
Well, here's the thing. Now, because it hasn't been maintained and it has ginormous holes in it, wouldn't that be blight if they're not taking care of it?
You know what I'm gonna do? You're talking about the street that runs north to south, correct?
No, I'm talking about it runs east and west.
East to west.
He's on.
Yeah. It goes from Dexter out to Pine Avenue.
Okay, hang on a minute. From Dexter,
Yeah.
I'll go by on my way home. Dexter to Pine Avenue.
I'm picturing it. It goes into the parking lot.
Yeah.
And then you take a left and go into what used to be Kmart.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you see,
Maybe my direction
drive
drop.
up there, you can.
Between Dexter and Pine Avenue, what number do you think it is?
Well, it's I don't know, like 43rd and Dexter, something like that. And, well, you guys have nailed the location.
There's only one problem area up there, and I'm not sure how that works. the street that, when you come out of the Dairy Queen, I'm not 100% positive if that's Plaza property, but as soon as you get like off Plaza property, that's a city street.
Okay, but here's the thing, if it's owned by the city, it hasn't been maintained.
Well, you know what I'm gonna do? Are you gonna be home later?
Am I?
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose.
I mean, if I stop by either today or tomorrow, you can show me the one you're talking about?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I'll tell you what,
I have an idea where he's talking, but then he confused me by east and west.
yeah, that's where I got screwed up.
Yeah,
I think, most of those are city streets up there.
yeah.
The only problem I saw up there was, now we did clear out some land behind Kmart.
Well, I'm not talking about the land behind Kmart, I'm talking about,
Yeah, but I
He's
mean,
talking about right next to Mercy.
but the road that heads up towards the auto parts store,
right, yeah, it's between the auto parts store and Dairy Queen.
Oh, okay, yeah.
yeah, that part of that is,
Oh, that's probably Plaza property.
well, up to a certain point. So you're talking about the one that goes from, so we make
Yeah.
sure it goes from the auto
When
store.
you come up and take a left off Pine Avenue into the old Kmart Plaza.
Yeah,
Right there.
cause, the part of that is the parking lot of the, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go up and talk to the traffic engineer. She can put it up on our, screen.
Well, I have another question about that. Now, if it's owned by the city, it hasn't been maintained at all.
Then we got a problem. But if it's a parking lot, that's a different issue.
But
But-
it's not designed like a park, it's designed like a street. And if it is a parking lot, it should be closed to through traffic. You can't park in this area I'm talking about.
I'll tell you what, I'll give you my number. Call me on this number right after we go off the air, okay?
All right.
And I'll give you my personal number, and you can call me, and I'll come down. I'll check it out upstairs. I'll look at the area. They
You
got
know
it
where
on.
it's at. You know exactly where it's
Yeah,
at.
I'm pretty sure that's parking lot, part of that city.
I bet parking lot. That's my bet.
But we'll see. And I know, it used to bug me because it was like,
Right.
it was one of those crazy things when you looked at it.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's a good question, caller. That's a good call.
Yeah, and if it is ours, then we'll have to take some action, or at the very least, they can probably ask the plaza to make some repairs.
Exactly.
And if it is privately owned, wouldn't it be classified as blight? That it isn't maintained? And it's
I don't know if roads are classified as blighted. Are they?
being maintained?
No, but they go on, we had a big talk with the streets department during the budget. And one of the problems that comes up is, they're afraid to project out 5 years, and I don't know why. I think what they need to do is look at roads. Now, some obviously, you can't project they're gonna be bad in 5 years, but I think you put them on a watch list.
Yeah.
That, some roads are, and that road gets beat up pretty bad.
Right.
Because, people are coming in and out of the Dairy Queen, in and out of Mersky Dental, in and out of the plaza, and
Now you got U-Haul trucks coming in.
yep,
that
and
area.
it's gonna be beat up now more, so,
Yeah.
It's been this way for several years now.
Then it has to be private then, because I don't think the city would.
If that's the case, wouldn't that be blight because it's...
maybe we're not sure, so I'm gonna go check today before I leave.
And
then,
there's stop signs there, so...
you call me at this number right after we go off the air, and I'll give you my number, and I'll come around either today or tomorrow, right around your house, and I'll take a look at it.
All right.
All
'Cause
right.
I live about 2 blocks from you, so,
Okay.
And when he goes to get some ice cream, he likes a smooth road, right, Cass? When you go to Dairy Queen,
I'm not allowed to eat it,
you're not allowed to eat it?
not as much, no.
You better not.
My wife does though, so.
Well, that's right. All right, thanks for calling, caller. Call back at the end of the show.
Right.
Thanks. Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, that's,
It always bothered me when I looked at that road, I said, it looked like one of those things that's gonna be a problem,
go ahead, caller. Go ahead, caller.
Good afternoon.
Oh, there he is, the mayor of the east side.
How are you?
I've
today?
been living up here over 60 years, and that has never been city property.
Well, there's a road part of it, John.
Yeah, I know the one.
I bet you, if I was a betting man, the good question is, where does it end? Like, how far did the city give an easement?
I think it ends at Pine Avenue, and that road is just an access road to the old Kmart, to the doctor's offices, to the Dairy Queen. The city streets department has never done anything there.
Well,
I would
go
agree with John on that one.
Yeah, I'm gonna go upstairs and just take a look at,
Been up here over 60 years, and 60 years, that's how it's been. But I have a question for the young lady for the Census Bureau. What kind of protection do we have if we fill out these forms on computer or even in the mail that our information is not going out anywhere? Can you guarantee me that anything I put on that census form will remain on my name or my family's name and not given out to anybody?
Right, well, what I can say is the Census Bureau does put forth the statement that none of that information can or ever has been shared. It is a federal offense for them to share that information outside of what it's intended for. And that is punishable by, I think, and I'm not a sworn-in Census Bureau employee. I'm actually the Census Outreach Coordinator for Erie
I
County.
see, but you cannot guarantee anything, especially with the federal government these days.
so you're worried they might sell your information, is that it?
Yes.
That's a very good question, actually.
Yeah,
With identity theft and different things like that going on nowadays.
but I don't think the government would purposely sell that information, that's what he's asking.
I mean,
Could it be hacked? Yeah, that's always a problem, you know?
Sure, and that's why the Census Bureau continuously tries to hack into their own system. They have top of the line, tech
Yeah.
IT people on that task.
But I think he's worried about, like, if you do business with your bank, and you don't read the fine print,
Sure.
or any business you do, and it tells you down at the bottom,
Yeah.
we reserve the right to refer you to,
There would be none of that with the Census Bureau.
not, in other words, could they be hacked? Yes, they could be.
That was John, is that you?
Hello?
Oh, that was a fantastic question, John. Go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
Yes, I'm calling about,
Whoa,
You cut out on us, say it again?
I'm calling about the big three in the city. Now that they are moving the homeless people out of the area, would it be more easier if they would pay for a building for the homeless in Frontier Park?
well, they're not moving homeless out there. What you're reading in the paper was that, I think you're talking about EDDC?
Yes.
Well, they legally bought buildings, which we cannot stop. And anybody's free to buy any building in the city, as long as somebody's selling it to them, and as long as they meet the code regulations and the zoning regulations. Anybody can do, I mean, they can go right now and buy a house in any neighborhood and say, I don't want to rent it out no more after the lease is done. And so it's not the city doing this, and they're not homeless. These people were all given good buyout clauses by EDDC, and were offered, I can't speak where they were offered, but I was told that they were offered, and the people were interviewed on TV, said they were offered alternate lodging at different places that, tried to keep the same rate of rent that they had. But it's not the city kicking them out. We have no, there's no orders going out to, evacuate anybody.
Well, couldn't the city ask the big three if they could help out with the homeless and build like a facility for the homeless people in Frontier Park? Because it's the easy access to the bus and to see doctors or get food,
Well, when you start talking about putting people in Frontier Park, you got to be able to afford to put a building there.
Yeah, I don't know
Okay.
where you put one.
And unless you want to take it eminent domain,
I've done that before.
yes, they have, but you're going to get a court fight. People are not going to. It's like where I live. There's a better chance, and I don't live in a bad area. I don't live in a good area. I live in an average area. There's probably, price-wise, what properties are valued at, you have a much better chance of the social agencies picking up a building there. It's not that they don't want to go into the suburbs, but it's pretty tough unless they can get a hold of a piece of property.
Because of the wealthy people, they don't want to be around people who aren't to their standards.
I can't speak for other people, I just worry, I worry about how people treat me, but there is no plan. I want to tell people, there's no plan from the city. It's private people buying businesses who have a different mindset of what they want to do with that property.
I read in the paper, I don't know if it's tomorrow, but today is that the group that owns the Richford Arms, they're trying to get together some money through the Pennsylvania State Housing.
To move the people?
No, not to move it, but to renovate the building. So now, are they using that as a bargaining ploy? I don't know.
Well, I will tell you this, that nowhere, I've been to a lot of cities. This is one of the few cities where they actually warehoused everybody in downtown. That's neither fair nor a good idea. The purpose is you want people to be able to envision different parts of the city. And being, pinned up downtown where you have very few open spaces as much, you have the park, but you have very limited access to a lot of the amenities, the plazas and everything. That's why they've been putting group homes in rural neighborhoods. But, everybody gets upset.
All right, caller, thanks for calling. We can get some other callers.
But, to pick on South Shore or Frontier, hey, they can do it. But, there's a cost factor that the government has to deal with. And when you take property, which is not easy.
No, it's very hard.
It's very hard. In the Commonwealth of PA, because of the nature of the government, it's not a state, it's a Commonwealth. It's tough to, even for the city, when they say, oh, tear down that blighted property. You might not see for 5 years. They do not like to take property. They do not like what, these bars that get in trouble. They hate to take liquor licenses too.
Go ahead, caller.
Hey, how you guys doing today?
Pretty good, how are you?
Hey, I just got home and saw you're on the air. I was wondering, do you know if they're extending the leaf pickup or not?
They were talking about they were.
Okay, 'cause today's the last day, and I live on West Bayfront, and
Let me, I'll get one of our,
90% full.
I'll get one of the secretaries to check into that, okay?
All right, thank you.
We did talk about it at the budget meeting. It came up and I thought they said they were talking about extending it. I'll see if I can find out real quick. Can you take over?
We can take over.
Yeah, I'll sit here and listen, but yeah, just wondering, because I know that usually if you put them out, they'll take them anyway, because today's the last day for our neighborhood.
Plus, we had like 2 weeks of snow and cold and rain, just bad leaf collecting weather.
I had 8 barrels full of leaves, and I just stopped and bought a couple boxes of them compost bags.
Right.
Today's a perfect
Expensive.
collecting day.
Yeah.
$7.
Were you out there today doing it?
Saturday, and I'm going out there now to fill up the compost bags I just bought.
I have a feeling that there's gonna be a lot of people out there doing leaves today.
Yeah, I can imagine.
What
There's
class?
probably a lot. I was actually surprised there were still compost bags there. I went over to the Value Home Center there, 12th in Pittsburgh, and they actually had quite a few. I figured they'd be gone.
Yeah, right.
I was told, they believe they heard that, because of the late leaf fall, the way it was so late, they plan on collecting as long as they can. Stay tuned, I'll check a little bit more.
Okay, yeah, well, that's usually how they do it, because once it snows, then I know they're not going to pick them up. So.
Because we asked them the other day and they said because it was late and all that, they thought they were gonna try, because what we have to do, we don't have like separate people doing this. The same guys are, they're plowing, they're doing roads, a lot of them, so they just shift the equipment. But if they can, I was told they were gonna do it, so stay tuned and we'll see what we can find out.
Yeah, and they're probably going to be busy tonight. Like I said, I got 8 barrels, and I just went and bought 10 bags.
Yeah. Well, yeah, when you got a late leaf fall like that, but.
Yeah.
Were they heavy?
Enjoy your Thanksgiving.
They're probably heavy.
You too.
Thanks for calling. Oh, that's right, Kaz. Thanks.
And we were talking about mulch too the other day,
We don't, Mill Creek does that, I know.
Well, we do, we should sell it though, because,
That's what they do.
yeah, we got people that pick it up for free that sell it then.
Yeah, they give it, you know, they have a good recycling.
It should be
program.
free to residents,
I
you
wonder
know.
why we don't do that. Go ahead, caller.
Hello. I was wondering, you remember a while back when the microphone at the podium there wasn't working so well and you guys had to have somebody there to fix it?
You mean the one down at the bottom there?
Yeah, for the citizens to be heard.
Yeah.
I just wondered if that was the case, how much that cost, because golly, the microphone's still terrible.
Are these terrible too?
Well, when you're doing your budget talks, still can't really hear the people if they're not speaking in the microphone.
Oh, I'll tell you what the problem is there. As John looks at the table right now, we have one microphone at each end. That's the one that, one comes from the solicitor's desk, and the other one comes from where the controller and the treasurer sit. And then we have the one John's using.
Oh, that one too goes in.
Yeah, that one goes, that's the city clerk
Right.
microphone. So we only have 3 mics there. What we try, you know what, I'll tell them during the budgets that, you know, we try to move the mics around so everybody can hear.
Yeah, I mean, and if people would sit up in their chairs, I mean, that would probably help if they spoke towards.
Yeah, the way they got it configured, it's tough. If somebody doesn't grab the mic, and there'd be a lot of, we probably got to come up with a better system. But
Yeah, for sure.
and these here are getting old, the ones that we're using. Some work real well, and some don't.
Can't you get the personal microphones that you put on your, you know, like professionals?
Hey, there's an idea.
Yeah, that would be good. I mean, it seems like there's got to be technology out there that, I mean, how do they do it?
Oh, there is. You know what? We've been slowly. When I was president, council, we didn't even have this screen up here, and I said, "Man, I was going to all these places, and they had the nice screens, and we were originally going to put on the back wall, but then this one works out beautiful because we can see it and the public can see it, and we have done. We have upgraded the sound system in here. They've been doing it slowly with the funds available, so I think, yeah, long range, we probably have to look at,
The one thing that I don't see are any wireless microphones.
yeah.
They all have wires. You know,
Well, this is old technology.
that's what I'm saying, hearing
Yeah.
25 years behind the times.
Well, you know, there's a cost, and we'll
That's what
probably
I'm
get
saying.
around
Yeah,
to
I mean,
it.
I'm not, you know, I'm not, just saying, there is no wireless system to where they.
Yeah, it would make sense if we, you know, we change the way we do things.
Yeah, exactly.
It just gets frustrating trying to listen to things like the budget
Well,
talk.
we're glad that you listen.
If you think it's bad for you, there are times when I actually, at that end, I can't even, sometimes can't hear because the people are like talking like, if you watch me on TV, they're pulling way back.
What are your thoughts on the budget talks, since you actually listen?
I mean, what I could hear.
Yeah, right.
Oh, I don't know. There does seem to be a lot of questions being asked, and that's good because I don't think you should just pass things just because, especially with all the craziness with the water authority and everything. It doesn't seem like it seems very sensible to me. But I did wonder, was it at the budget talk where I heard someone talk about that the city's now is it cyber insurance or something like that for the tax? I just think we've got these 2 universities, Gannon and Mercyhurst, who don't they both have programs for things like that? That should totally be a class project every year that these 2 schools keep an eye on the city since they don't even pay taxes, right?
No, they don't. In fact, I was looking the other day, and it was surprising. In the past, we've gotten money from LECOM, but not lately. We get an occasional one from Mercyhurst or LECOM. Gannon has been giving us about $100,000 every year, but that's not a guarantee. The only 2 nonprofits that give us a guaranteed return that are major. Now, there's some minor ones, but the 2 major ones that come to everybody's mind are the 2 major hospitals, Hammett, UPMC and Vincent. They both give 1/2, which is under state standards is pretty generous. We get 50% of their tax money. That amounts to a little over $1 million a year from the 2 of them. Could it be better? Sure it could, but if everybody at least gave something, it would help, but there's no guarantees from the other ones. Sometimes we do and sometimes we don't.
Well, those universities, I mean, that just seems like there could be some way to work it out. I mean, there's all these studies and all these things that could be done. They've got students trying to learn things like this. Why not?
Well, yeah, I think if they gave us in-kind services on a regular consigned basis, if they did, they had some of their students doing work with us and, to get time, and because lately now in colleges, they like their students to be out there in the real world.
Yeah.
You don't get paid all the time. Many times that's a requirement. You have to, like when my daughter was in pharmacy, she had to go to 4 or 5 different places at her own expense. And they wanted that. They wanted you out of town, in town, in a retail setting, in a hospital setting. And they're doing the same thing with like the kids in probably computers. And, we have a lot of students that could probably, bring new ideas, with technology and different things. That could be like in-kind services to us.
Seems better to me than training hackers. That just seems counterintuitive. I understand they send these people out then to look for problems in people's system, but who knows who takes those classes.
Oh, you mean they hire hackers?
The hackathons, I see it in the newspaper all the time.
Yeah.
Hackathons, that they want to make hackers. It just seems so crazy.
Well, companies hire hackers because...
Oh, I know. I know.
The first time I ever heard of it was they showed General Motors, and they put a car in a room, and they had it cameraed. And they went out and got 3 or 4 young men who were very experienced in getting into cars. And they said, have at it. And they filmed them, and they paid these gentlemen to do it.
Well, like that one movie with Tom Hanks and Leonardo, where he's a counterfeiter.
Yeah.
And Tom Hanks, Catch Me If You Can, I think he chases them around and finally catches them, and then he ends up, turning him into work. The guy ends up working for the FBI, where he's one of the most successful agents, and then he gets hired by all these private companies to do their security. So.
Yeah, it sounds like incentive for people to learn how to hack into people's stuff.
Well, the young kids today, they're amazing. I was talking to a gentleman yesterday. I was at a restaurant. My wife couldn't get the app to work right, and he got in there, him and his manager, and they're younger than we are. It's second nature to them. I wouldn't even know how. First of all, I wouldn't even know how to start to hack. But the kids that have grown up on it, it's like anything else. We could do things when we were young, but so today, after a while they figure, I can make more money working with the law, and I don't have to worry about getting arrested. And I think the government hires hackers too, because what better way to find out how they get in there than to ask somebody that does it?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, the best policemen were former criminals when they were younger. Trust me, I know a lot of our police guys when we were younger. They weren't saints, trust me, but yeah, sometimes that's what you need. You need somebody to come.
Are police officers come from our local area, or are they coming from outside?
A lot of them come from the ones that I know personally. They're starting to move up in the ranks a little bit because I'm getting older now, but the ones that I used to hang out with when I was younger, I mean, they weren't exactly saints either, but they make the best cops because they, you have to experience things in life in order to be able to understand things and to do a good job. And a lot of them are really high in the rankings now. We're like,
and as long as you don't get a felony, you're okay.
Right. Nobody's perfect, So, but it's good to come from a different experience, life experiences, in order to know how to deal with what you're going to have to deal with that on the streets, especially as a cop.
Well, I'm lucky for the ones these days. They were back before everything was so watched and every little thing you did got cracked.
Yeah, right.
We're coming into a very watched world, and so will the young people of today be able to take those life experiences and become cops, or will they be busted too early?
Yeah, right. Everybody's under camera. Everybody's under surveillance.
Remember, they made a book about that.
What?
George Orwell.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
What's up?
George Orwell. What was the name of that book, Cass?
1984, was it?
That's it, right? Yeah. Well, thanks for calling, caller.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Have a good Thanksgiving.
You too. Happy Thanksgiving.
You too. Happy
I can remember when the highlight of my career at Thanksgiving,
was.
we'd go out and play a game of football.
Yeah. Oh, the turkey bowl?
Yeah, and then we come back, everybody had a turkey
You
bowl,
got it.
where
Turkey
you were.
bowl. Yeah. I don't think I'd be
Some of the
down.
roughest games I ever played in.
Oh, for sure.
But nobody wanted to get really hurt,
That'd be 30 on 30 out there.
because you didn't want to get like your mouth busted up and you couldn't eat turkey.
It'd be 30 on 30 at the turkey bowl. I think if I went down, I'd be in traction for a month.
There used to be one behind the,
They're all over the place.
that hospital, off of Pine Avenue, that church.
Oh, up on,
It now, I think it's a Ukrainian church.
oh, I know what you're talking
They had a
about.
big field behind there.
Right on
Oh,
Ash,
yeah.
on Upper Ash, yeah. That was a big one there. Jefferson had them.
Ours was at Perry School.
East. Perry, yeah,
I set the record one year, 6 field goals.
6 field.
It was a tough game, there was no
You tried out for
touchdown.
the Browns. You're better
Well,
than the Browns.
I was good, but,
That's Kaz the Toe Gratowski.
yeah, the goal, they were higher than, the post was higher than 10 feet though. You had to clear the backstop, like of the,
I see.
keep it, that's all.
I see. Well, we got 5 minutes left, Michelle.
Well, we'll get Michelle on.
Yeah, let's give her the floor for a
You wanna
minute.
freeze that, or?
Nobody's calling.
Okay,
Okay, so I think the most important thing for people to know about the census is that it's fast and easy. Those 10 questions really aren't too personal. It's going to ask, is this house rented? Is it owned? It'll ask questions about your gender identity, your ethnicity, your telephone number. Pretty quick and simple. It'll ask that for each person living in the household, and it's important that everyone in the household is counted. So that includes newborn babies, all the way up to non-relatives that might be staying with you, even temporarily if they're not going to be counted somewhere else.
Even the pregnant ladies need to count that one? Is that a +1 in there? Or?
So they.
that's a good that's really a good question.
Yeah.
So what I've been telling people is, I mean, we have until the end of July to fill it out. So if your due date, you know, even if you get your initial invitation in March, if you want that child to be counted, wait until the child's born and then fill it out.
I mean, the census is very important.
Right. I mean, and one of the things to think about with that newborn baby is now that child will be 10 the next time they have the opportunity to be counted. They will have started school
Yeah, right.
and have needed access to a lot of these.
Funding.
And it's important
Right.
for the school district to know
Yes.
what they're looking at.
Right.
If there's
Exactly.
you know, you laugh about that, but when I got married and we were looking into a government program, you know, for like, you know, I could have bought a vet's house or this or that. They did ask you if your wife was pregnant,
Right.
because that had a bearing on what size house they might be eligible for.
Right.
So, you know, you never know how they look at the numbers, and they may ask you if, you know, but it is relevant, but, so what, give that number once again too for, employment.
So the website you'll want to go to is 2020census.gov/jobs, and there you'll find the application to apply for census jobs in our area. Again, that's $16 an hour, flexible schedules, 20 hours a week. So and those will primarily be from April to the end of July. So it can be a nice little way to save up some extra money.
How much or how many people are they looking for?
I know that they're looking right now for over 500 more applications at least.
Really?
Right, because I mean, first of all, the vetting process is so stringent. So, you know, they'll be doing extensive background checks, and you have to get your FBI fingerprint clearance, those kinds of things before you can be.
You know, that's I see that as a detriment, to be honest with you. I'm not saying it's not a necessary evil, but a lot of people are going to be like, meh.
Perhaps.
Sometimes they waive that, John. Like I had to get a clearance to go out on a Boy Scout outing,
Yeah,
and what they do is you gotta get a criminal check.
yeah.
Is that their expense, or will
That'll be at the Census Bureau's expense, so there's
Okay,
no
not to,
out-of-pocket
Well, that would
expense
make
for
it
the
easier.
applicant.
yeah, see, cause a couple of my fees were waived because I was a volunteer.
Right.
And then when it came to the fingerprint, they said if you were a resident for like 10 years, or they waived that because, you know, you got an established residence, you've been here for, it's either 10 or 20 years that you don't have to worry about getting fingerprints. I'm not saying that will be for that, but,
Right.
but, you know, when you look at there'll be a number of jobs that,
Right, right. And they want to make sure that everybody has their background checks. A lot of these people will be going to people's houses.
because people,
So we want the
people gotta
people-
trust you.
Right, we want people that are coming to our houses to, we know that they're safe.
Are you also going through the schools? I mean, getting the kids all hyped up too?
Yes, so we've been going into, so actually very interestingly, the Census Bureau has a program, it's called Statistics in Schools. It's a curriculum that is K through 12 and across all different subject lines. That teachers or parents who are homeschooling, anybody can go online and look at this curriculum and use it. And it's really neat because it gets young children talking about how to use census data, and then they can go home and share that with their household members.
Well, good. Well, Michelle, we are down to our last minute. We want to get it in because sometimes the show cuts off. So we want to thank you for coming in, and
Thank you for having
And
me.
if you wanna come in again before
Yeah.
the rollout,
That would be perfect.
yeah, feel free, you know.
yeah,
Thank you
because
so much.
this is important that we keep getting the word out, and you know, any type of avenue where you get to the general public is always a
Absolutely.
positive. So
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
No, thanks for coming in, and Kaz and Michelle, I want to wish you guys a happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
So John, you can't get counted as a leprechaun.
I'm too big to be a leprechaun, Kaz. Plus, I'm not Irish, so I'm German.
There are Italian leprechauns too.
I believe it. Is there any Polish leprechauns?
Not that I know.
No.
Well, we don't call them leprechauns, Joe.
Yeah, I don't even want to know what you call them.
Mysterious visitor.
Yeah, I believe it. Well, whenever you're ready, Mike. Hey, Mike, have a good Thanksgiving too, buddy.
And Mike, don't forget your census form.
That's right, Mike. You better be counted, Mike.
Yeah, well, I remember they did that when I was a kid.
You have been watching Taxpayers Hotline, recorded live from the fabulous city of Erie, Pennsylvania.
You think